Take the best affordable flagship phone of the year so far. Lop off the headphone jack, upsize the screen, fill it out with battery, and add cutting-edge biometrics. Do you have something even better, even more competitive, or something just a little bit dull? This is the new phone from OnePlus, and honestly, it's a little bit of both. It is the new best affordable flagship, but it's not as great in some areas as you might have expected. Stick with us though, because there is more to this phone than meets the eye. I'm Alex from Android Central, and this is our review of the OnePlus 6T. So this is the third T model phone from OnePlus, and once again, it layers on some choice upgrades to the mainline OnePlus phone from earlier in the year. This year we get a bigger screen, up to 6.41 inches of optic AMOLED at the same 2340 by 1080 resolution. The larger size, and the removal of the headphone jack too if you believe the PR line, lets OnePlus amp up the battery capacity significantly, up to a very healthy 3700 mAh. Oh yeah, RIP headphone jack. Not too much to say about that besides it was there before and now it's gone. There is at least a tiny red and white dongle in the box. Elsewhere in audio, OnePlus still uses a fairly crummy single bottom firing speaker, located over on the left where it's easy to block while holding if you're right-handed. The 6T unfortunately also inherits the OnePlus 6's decidedly mushy haptic motor, so vibration taps don't feel anywhere near as nice as the Pixel 3 or the iPhone. The big thing with the display, well that is to say the other big thing besides the fact that it literally is bigger, is the new teardrop-shaped notch. We've seen this design already from a few other Chinese brands, and it's a great improvement on the display cut out of the OnePlus 6. Much smaller, much less intrusive, while still providing enough space for the front camera and proximity sensors. The new tiny earpiece now sits between the screen and the outer frame. OnePlus has a distinct and undeniable resolution disadvantage compared to other flagships, but honestly Full HD Plus still looks perfectly fine to me on this panel. More importantly, colours are punchy and daylight visibility is solid. The general hand feel of the 6T is pretty much just a blown up, chunkier OnePlus 6. It's noticeably thicker and heavier but still manageable, and the difference in footprint is much less than you might think. I've been using the OnePlus 6T in matte finished midnight black, the less boring of two fairly boring black glass colour options. There's also a glossy mirror black, and undoubtedly OnePlus will have more colours launching in the months ahead. It's as good a time as ever to slap up a spec sheet, most of which is a line-for-line copy of the OnePlus 6. The Snapdragon 845 remains the centerpiece, with a base of 6GB of RAM and 128GB of storage, plus upgrades to 8+128 or 8+256 for a little bit more cash. Outside of the larger battery and the bigger screen that we already touched on, the core specs remain pretty much the same. That includes the same lack of any real IP rating, but with the insistence that you don't need to worry about getting a little water on it. The one big internal hardware change is not more RAM or a higher res camera, but the move to in-screen fingerprint. We all knew this was coming, and the big question was always whether it could live up to the hype and be as good as the capacitive sensor that it was replacing from the OnePlus 6. The answer is kinda. Like I said in my initial review of the Huawei Mate 20 Pro, you still need to treat these in-screen fingerprint sensors differently to a regular fingerprint scanner, but if you do, the 6T's is pretty consistent and fast, though admittedly not as quick as the very fast rear fingerprint scanner from the 6. Outside of fingerprint, OnePlus's excellent face unlock is still present, and it's fast and reliable in all but the darkest of conditions. So it's the very first time in any T model that we haven't seen any camera hardware changes, either on the front or around the back. Basically, this is the OnePlus 6's camera at a hardware level, but it's worth remembering that that camera has improved significantly with a number of software updates since the 6 launched. And the OnePlus 6T builds on those capabilities. The big new software feature here is Night Mode. Like similar features from Google and Huawei, Night Mode trades time for image quality in the dark. As long as you hold reasonably still for a few seconds, the phone will do some lumber crunching and often give you a brighter, better looking photo. In super dark scenes, most of the time it's an improvement on what the 6T can do in full auto mode, but it's nowhere near the magic of the Pixel 3's night sight or Huawei's handheld long exposure mode. It's good, but it's definitely not great. And the rest of the camera experience is once again the same as the OnePlus 6's. It's a good single camera setup that takes pleasing photos with accurate colours and good dynamic range. OnePlus also punches above its weight in portrait shots thanks to that secondary depth sensing camera. We don't yet know if night mode will come to the OnePlus 6, but given the hardware similarities and OnePlus's history of backporting new features to older phones, my bet is that they probably will. OnePlus brought Android 9 Pie to the OnePlus 6 faster than almost anyone else, and the software of the 6T is exactly the same clean, fast Android experience, with a few neat live wallpapers thrown in for good measure. Besides the visuals, the most important change has to do with the gestures. Like the OnePlus 6, you can choose between a standard 3-button setup, a Pixel-style 2-button setup, or full-screen gestures. But OnePlus's full-screen gestures have been significantly improved, especially the animations and the physics of hopping between apps on the fly. It's easy to start swiping up and then pop right to jump to the previous app, or hold and release to see the app carousel. This is easily the best full-screen gesture setup I've seen on Android, and the only one I've actually been able to use without wanting to tear my hair out. OnePlus's take on Android continues to be one of my favourite as well, with an uncluttered vanilla Android look, ample customization options, and useful features like gestures and the widget shelf. It's also blazingly fast, of course, and needless to say, the 8GB model I've been using didn't suffer from any memory management issues like some folks have been reporting from the Google Pixel 3. With 8GB of RAM, you'll have to do a lot of scrolling before you find an app that's been bumped out of memory. It's also nice to see that dependable performance is backed up by a significant boost in battery power. I never felt shortchanged by the OnePlus 6's battery life, but the 6T's bigger cell is a welcome bump. It's a full day with heavy use, or on lighter days, a full day and then some, with around 5 hours of screen on time depending on your use. That's a step below mega battery phones like the Huawei Mate 20 Pro, but impressive nonetheless. And you still get Dash Charge, which curiously isn't branded as Dash Charge anymore because of some boring legal reasons. Dash isn't printed on the plug anymore, but the tech behind it works the same, pushing up to 20 watts of juice for quick refills. Personally, the worst thing I can say about the OnePlus 6T is that it's a little unexciting. That's only natural considering just how many flagship phones have launched in the past few weeks. This is a half-step upgrade from the OnePlus 6 after all, and for the first time, one that actually chooses to remove a couple of features as well as layering on the upgrades. In-screen fingerprint is all well and good and feels very futuristic to use. The extra battery life is always a plus, but like in previous years, the biggest thing you lose at OnePlus's hyper-competitive price point is a top-tier camera. Instead, you have to make do with a camera that's just pretty good. Personally, I can probably live with that. This fall, Huawei can sell you a phone with triple cameras, or Google can sell you a single camera that can see in the dark, but of course neither is anywhere near OnePlus's price point. That's still the company's major strength, a great, fast smartphone experience that undercuts and outperforms the competition. That's OnePlus's bread and butter, and hey, after 4 years and 9 phones, turns out they're pretty good at it. That's it for now. Stay tuned and subscribe for all of our future Android goodness. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.